family here in our English worship. So, Pastor Dr. An will be actually talking with you formally, but we'd like to welcome you, and then, if possible, kindly come every Sunday and be part of our worship. We'd love to have your presence here. Okay, so this afternoon, I would like to meditate on the topic, which I entitled it as, When God Says Wait. And our main text is Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 3 to 4. As our sister just read it out, so let me not repeat it again. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 3 to 4. The most important life lesson, I believe, is obey God and leave all the consequences to Him. No matter how inconvenient it may appear, no matter how illogical it may appear, completely obey Him and entirely leave all the responsibilities for fulfilling that promise to His care. And secondly, the appointed time came. God sent forth His Son, born of a woman, born under the law. And that's the same God of timing who's at work in our life. God has a purpose. I always say God has a special purpose for every one of us. And in that, timing is central. If we want God's best for ourselves, then waiting for God's timing is non-negotiable. Because God's best portion is only reserved for those who chooses not to step ahead of God and wait for God's timing. So now, the God sees each one of us as special, that He has a purpose for us ahead of time. But that purpose, timing, waiting on God, when God says, okay, I have a plan for you, but you got to wait for me. You don't step ahead of me. So how do we wait? Firstly, shall we go to the first? The first point is, well, making it simple, the first point is, we wait for God's timing in faith. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 3 to 4. There are texts that will follow it. The book of Habakkuk was written by the prophet at a time when the southern kingdom of Israel was at its lowest or at its worst historical point. The moral degradation was so bad that it was almost like beyond recovery. The social justice system had broken down, that the poor, the weak, and even the old people were openly exploited by by the rich and the powerful. And the corruption in the political system is rampant at every levels of the society. That was the background, that was the historical background under which prophet Habakkuk wrote the oracle. That little hope, the little glimmer of hope that the righteous people had when Josiah became a king, he was a good king. It was shattered, it was broken because he died very early, very sudden, untimely death. And as the righteous were suffering under that political climate, somehow the wicked seems to be flourishing. The wicked seems to be thriving under that terrible political climate. So as Josiah died and his son, a very wicked man, Jehoiakim, became king, people of Judah lost all hopes. They lost all hopes of restoration of justice, restoration of fairness in the society. And that was the condition under which prophet Habakkuk wrote. And it's no wonder that when he began his oracle, he said, right? Habakkuk 1:2. How long, O Lord, will I cry on, and you will not hear me? How long will I cry that there is violence, and you will not come to rescue me? This cry is a very familiar cry, isn't it? At some point, we all have cried. Okay, how long, Lord? How long should I wait? You said you have planned for my life. How long should I wait for you to answer my prayer? To which God responded in Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 5. I'm doing something wonderful. I'm doing something amazing during your lifetime. And if I tell you that you will not believe. My friends, if we are in the center of God's will, if we are seeking to live God's purpose for our life, no matter how dark, no matter how grim our immediate, current, present situation may look, we have nothing to fear. It will work out just fine. I always say there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It will work out fine. We will come out victorious. What is important is as we go through dark moment of waiting, that we trust God's promise. We trust that He has the ability to accomplish, fulfill what He has promised to us, and not step ahead of Him. One person, if there's one person who trusted God in spite of immense pressure and chose not to step ahead of God, was Joseph, wasn't it? Joseph had all the reasons to be angry, to grow bitter with God. But what he said in Genesis, no, I did not put it up, I think. Are we there? Yeah, no, it's not there. Genesis 39 verse 9, where it says, how could I do such a great evil and sin against God? In spite of everything that was going wrong at his immediate circumstance, he chose that he will maintain his integrity and not step ahead of Him and keep on honoring God. As we wait, as we go through the period of waiting, and as we choose to trust Him, and as we choose to maintain our faith, we glorify God. We glorify God by proclaiming that He is trustworthy, He is faithful, that He will keep His promise. And as God brought to reality the wonderful plans that God had for Joseph, that is what He said in Genesis chapter 50 verse 20. As for you, that means his brothers, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring about these present results, to preserve many peoples alive. We may not see God's involving hand in our life at the moment. We may not always understand what God's doing in our life, and that's okay. But we keep trusting God. I don't think Joseph understood. Well, he was sold as a slave, and he was bought by the Potiphar, and again he was thrown down into the dungeons. I think he really couldn't understand, because God has shown him that he will become great, wasn't He? God has shown him that, yes, I have some wonderful plans ahead for you. But the immediate circumstance was not reflecting that reality. But he kept trusting God. He chose not to step ahead of Him. He maintained his faith. I believe God has a special purpose for each one of our life. And in that, there is a process of waiting. And God's best only comes if we choose to trust Him and maintain our faith. Yes, it's going to come to pass. Secondly, we wait for God's timing. Can we go to the second slide? We patiently. Psalm number 27 verse 14 says in the New Living Translation, wait for the Lord, wait patiently for the Lord, be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. Cambridge, I was just trying to understand what's the meaning of that patient. And then Cambridge Dictionary defined it as, patience is the ability to wait or to continue doing something despite of difficulties, or to suffer without complaining, or becoming annoyed, or becoming irritable or angry. Right? I don't think any one of us wants to wait. Especially our generation, we want everything here and now, isn't it? But in God's plan, there's a process of waiting. And it will take patience on our part to realize what God has for us. Funny thing, as I was preparing this sermon last night, I finished preparing the first point very easily. And when I came to this patient, I was stuck literally. It was as if like there was a roadblock in my mind. I went blank. And that went on for a very long time. It went on till 11 p.m. Actually, I was starting to get worried. Okay, what should I share about this? Might be that I'm not a very patient person myself, and there's not much to say about it. Actually, my nickname is called Laina. In our language, it means impatient. Okay, my mom gave me that. I think that's one. So I was starting to really get worried, and then I was literally praying. It was already 11 p.m. And all of a sudden, I think God really spoke to me so that we all get this message. God, it was not in the direction that I was meditating. God put that thought in my mind. I think the thought was, you need to wait for God's timing for your plan to come to fruition. Not because God needs time to fulfill. God can instantly fulfill. But God is working on you for the plans. And I thought, wow, that's really beautiful. I think this is a really beautiful thought that God spoke to me. I think that's what I thought. Patient. God doesn't need time, extra time. He can just instantly fulfill all the good things that He has planned for us. All the prayers that we have been praying, He can just give it away instantly. But He is working on us. He's prepping us, preparing us, readying us, so that we become that worthy person to carry. God expects each one of us to become responsible leaders, responsible person for His name. And in order to do that, He is working on us. So I thought, wow, that's a really beautiful thought. And then if we are to talk of anyone who waited patiently, I think it was King David, wasn't it? God told him, okay, David, you are going to become the king of Israel, of the whole nation, of both the northern and the southern. But it went on. He was hunted by King Saul for how many years? And he had two very good opportunities. While Saul was sleeping in the cave, he could have literally killed him, right? But he said no. I think in his heart of hearts, he knew that it was not right. He knew that that was not the right time. He waited patiently. Isaiah chapter 60 verse 22, it says, when the time is right, I will make it happen quickly. Yeah? When the time we think, okay, time is running out, we freak out, we lose our sleep. But God says, I know what is ahead. I have a panoramic view of your life. I have given you enough time to accomplish what I want out of your life. I am the real investors in your life. I have great investment in your life, and I want maximum out of your life. And you have time. Wait on God in faith. Wait on God's timing in patience. Patiently. And finally, I think we have lots of friends, so we'll need some extra time. Finally, wait for God's timing courageously, with courage. Right? Psalm number 27 verse 14 says, wait for the Lord, be strong and courageous. Yes, wait for the Lord. Faith and courage has some seeming resemblance or similarities, but there's a necessary distinction between the two. When we talk of faith, we are talking of our trust, our confidence that we place in the person and in the character of God, saying, okay, He is who He claims to be. And our trust that, yes, He has the power and the ability to fulfill the promise that He made. That's faith. When we talk of courage, we are talking of the inner strength. Could it be our moral or our mental strength to say, okay, I'm pressing on. I'm going to continue waiting. I'm not stepping ahead. I'm going to still move ahead in spite of uncertainties, in spite of discouragement, or even at the face of danger. I'm not moving ahead. I'm going to stay put. I'm going to stay and wait at the place. I think many people in life miss God's best not because they don't want. Everyone wants God's best. But they step ahead of God. God. and we wait patiently, and we wait courageously. I think, let me just conclude. I wouldn't want to take too much of time. I would like to share one of my favorite Bible passage. There is Isaiah 64, verse 4. It says, God acts on behalf of those who wait for Him. God's act on behalf of those who wait for Him. We think, okay, I don't have time. Okay, I think we often panic because when we compare ourselves with others, right? We look at our friends and, okay, my friends have settled this, my friends have done that, I haven't. I think God doesn't want us to compare. We all are special, and God has a purpose for each one of our life. And God has different timeline for every one of us. And we should not compare our timeline with with our friends' timeline. We have, God is not really interested of what we do, I believe. I think becoming pastors, good thing. Becoming great Bible teacher, great thing. Becoming president or director of some agency, great thing, which is still part of God's plan. But that's not His topmost desire for us. His topmost desire for us is what we become out of that process. Our character that we become out of that process of waiting, that is His topmost desire for us. And that we only realize, that we only actualize, achieve as we wait. As we trust God and not step ahead. We are always under immense pressure, but we don't step ahead. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 says, Yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. If we want to soar high in life, if we want to achieve great things in life, we don't run ahead of God. If God says, okay, wait, we trust. We may not see the immediate reasons, but we trust. We wait patiently, and we wait courageously.